What if the person you treated like dirt held the power to change your entire future? Jeff Matthews was about to find out the hard way. At SpinTech, where suits ruled and cleaners were invisible, one woman was quietly observing everything, and she wasn't who they thought. In a world where arrogance reigns, karma is always lurking just around the corner. Get a cup of coffee, relax, and enjoy the story. At SpinTech, one of the leading tech companies in New York City, everything was fast-paced. Deals were closed in skyscraper offices with views of the city skyline, and the employees moved about with purpose. But on this particular day, there was someone new in the building. Her name was Emily Dawson, but to everyone else, she was just the new cleaner. She wore the typical cleaner's uniform, a simple blue shirt, black pants, and sneakers. Her hair was tied back, and she pushed a cleaning cart with quiet determination. No one knew that Emily wasn't just a cleaner, she was the real owner of SpinTech. A few years ago, she had handed the role of acting CEO to her older brother, Paul Dawson, who made occasional appearances but kept himself distant from the daily operations of the company. Emily had built this company with her own efforts, but she needed to know how it was being run behind the scenes, without anyone treating her differently because of her status. It didn't take long for Emily to notice the attitude of some employees, especially the management. Mr. Jeff Matthews, the CEO, was the worst of them all. He was tall, always well-dressed in a tailored suit, and carried an air of arrogance. To him, people like Emily were invisible, just there to clean up his mess. On her first day, as Emily swept the hallway outside his office, Jeff gave her a once-over. "Hey, new girl," he called out. "You missed a spot." He pointed to an area of the floor that was already spotless. Emily smiled politely and went back to work. But Jeff wasn't done. "You know," he added, stepping closer, "you should be grateful for a job like this. Some people don't even get to be inside a building like SpinTech. So, don't screw it up." Emily nodded, keeping her composure, but inside, she was furious. This was her company, and she wouldn't let anyone treat her like she didn't belong, but for now, she had to play her part. Weeks passed, and Emily's frustration grew. Every day, she saw more of how SpinTech was really being run. The employees weren't the problem. Many of them were hardworking, talented, and dedicated. The problem was the people in charge. Jeff Matthews was at the center of it all. As the acting CEO, he had too much power and used it in all the wrong ways. He treated junior employees with disrespect, barking orders without a second thought. The only people he seemed to respect were the members of the board, but even they were often on the receiving end of his arrogant attitude. Ms. Theobald, the head of marketing, was just as bad. She made condescending remarks to the cleaners and office staff, acting as though she was doing them a favor by letting them work in the same building as her. Then there was Mr. Carter, the head of finance, who misused company funds for personal expenses. But Jeff's behavior toward Emily was the worst. He would linger in the hallways, always making inappropriate comments. "You're too pretty to be a cleaner," he'd say, smirking. "If you play your cards right, maybe I'll find you a better job." Emily didn't bite. She knew exactly who she was. But Jeff didn't stop. One day, he cornered her in the break room. "Listen, Emily," he began, his voice lowering to a whisper, "you could make your life a lot easier if you'd be more cooperative." His eyes glinted with a threat. "Or I could make sure you're out of here before the week is over." Emily stiffened. This man had no idea that he was threatening his own boss. She wanted to expose him right there and then, but she needed more time to assess the rest of the management. Meanwhile, her brother Paul kept checking in, asking how things were going. "It's worse than I thought," Emily admitted during one of their evening conversations. "Jeff and the others are ruining SpinTech from the inside out. But I'm not ready to act just yet." I need to be sure about who's worth keeping. Take your time, Paul reassured her. When the moment comes, they won't see it coming. Jeff Matthews was getting bolder by the day. His advances toward Emily became more aggressive, and he made it clear that her job was on the line if she didn't comply with his demands. One day, he outright cornered her in the parking lot after work. "If you don't meet me in my office after hours today, I'll have you fired by just tomorrow morning. And believe me, no one else is going to hire a girl like you," Jeff threatened Emily. Emily's heart raced, but she stood her ground. She was done playing this game. It was time for her to reveal the truth. The next morning, Emily arrived at Spintech, but this time, she wasn't dressed in her cleaner's uniform. She wore a crisp white blazer, black pants, and heels. Her hair was styled neatly, and her presence commanded respect as soon as she walked through the door. Paul had arranged for a special meeting with the board and the entire management team, including Jeff. When Emily entered the conference room, Jeff didn't recognize her at first. He shot her a confused look, but it quickly melted into a smirk. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" he asked, clearly amused. "This is a board meeting. You're not supposed to be here." Emily didn't respond right away. She walked to the head of the table and stood beside her brother, who was seated in his usual spot. Paul cleared his throat. "Before we begin today's meeting, there's something I need to share with all of you. Actually, it's someone I need to introduce." The board members exchanged puzzled glances as Paul gestured toward Emily. "This is Emily Dawson," he said with a proud smile. "The true owner and founder of Spintech." The room went dead silent. Jeff's face drained of all color as he realized what was happening. Emily stepped forward, meeting Jeff's wide-eyed gaze. "For the past few months, I've been working undercover as a cleaner," she began, her voice calm but firm. "I wanted to see firsthand how my company was being run. Frankly speaking, what I found was really disturbing." Jeff stammered, trying to speak, but no words came out. The rest of the board members sat in stunned silence as Emily continued. "Mr. Matthews," she said, addressing him directly, "you have repeatedly harassed me and other employees. You've misused your position to intimidate people, and you failed to uphold the values of this company." Jeff finally found his voice. "Emily, Ms. Dawson. I didn't know, I had no idea." "Exactly," Emily interrupted. "You had no idea who I was, but that's no excuse for how you treated me or anyone else here." Paul stood up beside her. "Effective immediately, Jeff Matthews, you're fired. And you won't be leaving quietly. Legal action will follow." Jeff slumped in his chair, defeated. As security arrived to escort him out, Emily turned her attention to the rest of the board and said, "To those of you who have acted with integrity, your jobs are safe. But for those of you who contributed to the toxic culture here, there will be consequences." Several other members of the board and upper management were terminated on the spot. Fear and regret filled the room as Emily listed off the names of those who would be dismissed. When the dust settled, only a few remained. Emily looked at them with a sense of hope, and she spoke to them saying, "Spintech is going to be a place of innovation, respect, and integrity. Starting today, we will rebuild." From that moment on, Spintech thrived under Emily's leadership. The employees who had once laughed at the black cleaner now looked up to her with admiration and respect. Karma had dealt its blow, and justice had been served. Emily had claimed her rightful place, and the company she built from nothing was stronger than ever. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories. Have a nice day.